Hello, we are going to discuss the voting systems for Most Admired UPSCAN this NoPLS 2020. So we will be crowning three different Most Admired UPSCANs, or rather three pairs, by the different voting systems. First is Hothemia for post past post, second is Hesperhodos for instant runoff voting, and third is Platycodon for star voting. Let's discuss each so we would know how the voting process happens. Let's start with first past post. Let's have an imaginary voting system with these three candidates, Lorenzo, Paul, and Pedro. 5 votes, votes number 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, like we just did. Some of them had ranked them, some of them have given them um, some scores. For post past post, only the top candidate is considered. So voter number 1 had Lorenzo, voter number 2 had Paul, voter number 3 had Paul since he had the highest number, voter number 4 had Pedro, having number 4, and voter number 5 had Paul. And since Paul had 3 votes, or at least the highest no, um, rank, versus Pedro having 1, Lorenzo having 1, Paul wins Hothemia, as you can see. Alright, so the only first choice matters here in first past the post. This is what we use in the Philippines to elect our president, and there could be sometimes difficulties, especially when there's a lot of candidates, since the candidate with the most votes may not necessarily be the one that has the majority. So for our next winner, we have Platycodon, which uses the star voting system. So what this does is basically we add up all of the ratings. Ranks are converted to ratings, so by minusing the highest score plus 1. So if you're given the first ranking, then you're given a score of 5. If you're the only person voted by the voter, then you have a 5. So Lorenzo gets a 5 from the first vote, and Lorenzo also gets a 4 by being the second choice of the second voter. Vote number 3, vote number 4, vote number 5. You add it up, Lorenzo got 16. Paul, being the first choice of 3 different voters, gets 5 thrice and gets a score of 15. Pedro, gaining a score of 3 and 4 from voters 3 and 4, has a score of 7, and so Lorenzo wins the Platycodon by virtue of having the highest score. As you can see here, it's different from the results of first past the post in that Lorenzo won since he had a more multitude of voters voting for him, unlike Lorenzo. Lastly, we have our Esperhodos instant runoff voting. So, as we've seen, Pedro had the lowest amount of support, and so the vote that had been cast in Pedro is given to the second candidate of choice from the voter. So, voter number 4 chose Pedro as his first, Lorenzo as second, and so that vote goes to Lorenzo. And now the voters for Lorenzo and the voters that chose Paul as their first choice have been classified, and now Paul wins instant runoff voting by having more people as his first choice. And so those are the three voting systems that will be used in order to decide who is our most admired UPSCAN. Of course, who is our most admired UPSCAN is not only decided by these voting systems, but also how we feel about them, our day-to-day interactions with them. I just like to use this kind of setup to show how different our voting systems may be, especially when electing our public officials, um, this no please, hopefully we could bridge our love of each other, of our love of our significant others, if we may have, of our love of our family, but of course the love of our country, of course the love of activism. This No Please 2020, Rosas ng Digma.